Hi class, welcome to a new series called Main Idea. In this series, I'm going to be teaching you about main idea, author's purpose, and supporting details. I'm going to teach you how to identify main idea, how to identify supporting details, and also how to infer the author's purpose. Today's lesson is about main idea and author's purpose. How do you find them, and what's the difference between the two? Let's get started. The main idea of a passage is what the passage is mainly about, what the text is mostly about. I have a trick for you guys, it's a little secret. You can find the main idea by finding the thesis statement that is written either in the first sentence of the introduction or more often in the last sentence of the passage's introduction. A thesis statement is a 1 to 2 sentence summary of what the whole thing is going to be about. So if you can find the thesis statement, you're gonna be able to figure out the main idea. If you need to figure out the main idea of a novel or a piece of fiction, it's usually whatever the central conflict is. So I'll give you an example from a movie. A lot of us have seen Star Wars, A New Hope, and I believe that's the one where Luke has to save the princess and destroy the Death Star. And that's really what that whole movie is about. Luke has to save the princess and defeat the Empire by destroying the Death Star. Notice how I didn't tell you how Luke saves the princess, and I didn't tell you how he destroys the Empire. How he destroys the Death Star, because those would be supporting details. The main idea is a bit broad, but it has some specifics, and the specifics I provided you with in that example were character and what he had to do. And that's what the whole movie was mostly about. Moving on to author's purpose. The author's purpose is the reason the author wrote the passage. In state exams, or maybe just some tests that your teacher will give you, there's usually 2 reasons the passage was written, and it's either to inform the reader or to persuade the reader. Sometimes you might get a passage that's for your entertainment, and sometimes you might get a passage that is to explain something to the reader, and sometimes you might get a passage that is to compare or contrast. But the 2 most common ones you're going to come across, passages you'll come across, is to inform and to persuade. There is a very simple way to figure out what the author's purpose is, and that is by identifying what kind of text you're reading. Is it descriptive? Is it expository? Is it informative? Is it persuasive? And when you know the type of text that you're reading, the style of text that you're reading, then you can very easily figure out what the author's purpose is. I'm going to give you 2 examples. Let's start with the first one. Flowers for Algernon. Flowers for Algernon is a novel written by Daniel Keyes. It is considered an American classic and has been remembered throughout generations. Key pieces of the novel are often included in student textbooks across the United States and is sometimes assigned to young readers as supplemental summer reading assignments or a classroom text. Flowers for Algernon may have been written decades ago, but the decades have been dedicated to its teaching of the worth of kindness versus intelligence and the deepening of a reader's understanding of who they are as human beings. Let's pause. What was the style of text? What type of text did I just read to you? Was it informative, persuasive, descriptive? What was the main idea? What was the author's purpose? I'm gonna pause here so that you can stop the video and think about these things. And now I'm gonna go back to the text and help you answer these questions. This sample text right here that I wrote is informative. How do you know it's informative? Because it's informing you of facts, right? It's just got facts. It's an American classic. There are pieces of the novel that are put in textbooks. Sometimes you have to read it for summer reading, or sometimes you have to read it as a class. These are just facts. This is what this book is used for. This book is used in school. That's a fact. So when you see a text that has facts and is written with facts like that, that's an informative piece of text. So what is the author's purpose? The author's purpose is to inform you that Flowers for Algernon has been remembered through these forms, through the usage of it in textbooks, through the novel being assigned for summer reading, through the novel being assigned in a classroom, in group readings. The author wants to inform you that Flowers for Algernon has been written a long time ago, but it has withstood the test of time. That's the author's purpose. And what's the main idea? The main idea is that it's been remembered throughout generations. That's what the whole thing is about. That it's that simple. All right? Let's go to same novel where I wrote about it in a different way, okay? So let's read this. Flowers for Algernon is a great American novel, but often forgotten by today's scholars. Although Keyes, the author, tells a story that enriches its readers of the value of kindness and intelligence, many other classics take its proper place in the realm of literature. While Holden Caulfield engages readers with his tongue-in-cheek attitude in The Catcher in the Rye, and may be more relatable to students than Charlie Gordon, the protagonist in Flowers for Algernon, the only thing Caulfield teaches his readers is what they ought not to be. And with due respect to Miss Shelley, Frankenstein's patient development and style wouldn't motivate any of today's most cerebral students. Flowers for Algernon is not only written in a format that would attract today's audience through journal entries, it features a young man who is challenged with a below-average IQ, an epidemic that plagues today's society. We shouldn't fail to forget Flowers for Algernon for its timeless style, its everlasting themes, and the wisdom it imparts on its readers. So, we're going to pause again. Same question. Let's think about the same things. What kind of text did I just read to you, right? What style was that written in? What was the main idea? What was the author's purpose? I'm going to stop so you can pause and think about it. Now I'm going to go back. Okay. This type of text is a persuasive type of text. It's written in a persuasive way. How do I know that? It's filled, has a plethora of opinions, right? So the author, me, right, I wrote this, wrote that it's usually forgotten by today's scholars, right? I wrote that it enriches its readers. I wrote that other classics take its place in the realm of literature. I wrote here, the only thing Caulfield teaches his readers is what they shouldn't be. That's just an opinion. Somebody can completely disagree with that, right? And even here at the end, we shouldn't fail to forget Flowers for Algernon for its timeless style, its everlasting themes, and the wisdom it imparts on readers. That's just an opinion. Somebody can read this book and completely hate it. So what the author is trying to do here is to persuade you. This is a persuasive type of text. So what's the author's purpose? It's to persuade the reader to remember this book, Flowers for Algernon, for these reasons, right? For the reasons that were listed here at the end. And what's the main idea? The main idea is that the Flowers for Algernon has been forgotten, but it should be remembered. That's what the whole thing is about. Do you see how simple that is? So, to clarify, main idea is what the whole passage is about, and it can often be found through a thesis statement that's included in the introduction, sometimes at the beginning of the introduction or at the end. Author's purpose is why the author wrote the text, and it can be inferred through analyzing what kind of text is provided. Is it persuasive, informative, or descriptive? If the text is informative, then the author's purpose is to inform. If the text is persuasive, then the author's purpose is to persuade or to convince. That's how simple it is. It's not too complicated. You just have to be able to analyze what kind of text you have so that you can figure out why the author is writing. That's the end of today's class. That's the end of today's lesson, and I'll see you next class. Hi scholars, it's Barbie, your teacher assistant. If you like this video but feel like you need a little bit more help, you can always email me at ytaest23@gmail.com for a private tutoring lesson. My rates are very flexible. I make it work to work with you. Thank you so much for being part of this class, and don't forget to subscribe.